You know, smartphones are getting really expensive. I distinctly remember when the iPhone X launched for $1,000 and everybody freaked out. And now it's commonplace to see $1,200 flagships and $1,400 flagships. I mean, the OnePlus 8 Pro is considered a good value at $900. So then when Apple announced the new iPhone SE for 2020 for $400, everybody took notice. Now, first and foremost, yes, those are not your eyes being weird. The iPhone SE is stacked inside of an iPhone 8 body. And that means that you're not getting a triple camera system or a big borderless OLED display or Face ID. Instead, you're getting an LCD display and you're getting the Touch ID home button. You're getting a single camera in big bezels. But the one thing that makes the iPhone SE really special is the A13 Bionic processor. Now don't get me wrong, most of these specs are distinctly mid-range. It's got 3 GB of RAM, a measly 1,821 mAh battery, and 64 GB of storage at the baseline. But what makes the iPhone SE truly remarkable is its A13 Bionic processor. This is Apple's absolute newest processor that you're gonna see in the iPhone 11 series, and it enables some new features like being more power efficient and a bunch of new camera features. But maybe even more importantly, it means that the iPhone SE is going to be supported for a long, long time. Look, when you walk into a carrier store and you buy an expensive smartphone, you want it to be supported for a while. And unfortunately, a lot of manufacturers will only update their phones for like 1 or 2 years. And one of the big benefits of buying an iPhone is that it's supported for a while. The iPhone 6s series is currently on the latest version of iOS. The last original iPhone SE is currently on the latest version of iOS. And that means that the new iPhone SE is probably gonna be supported for at least 4 or 5 more years. Anyways, let's talk about what this processor brings to this phone and improvements that you can actually see. Now, there are 2 main things that the processor does for this phone. One is going to be a much improved camera system, and 2 is going to be better battery life. Now, the iPhone SE uses the same camera system as the iPhone 8. But the A13 Bionic has a new image signal processor and some new neural cores that are going to make photos coming out of this phone a lot better than the iPhone 8. And overall, that held out to be pretty true. The colors were really nice, the sharpness was good. I was not at all bothered by the fact that this is a 12 megapixel camera. In fact, I really like 12 megapixel cameras because it means that the individual pixel size is not ridiculously small. Sharpness was really good too, and it wasn't over sharpened like we've seen in a lot of modern smartphones. And white balance actually looked a little bit better than it did coming straight out of the iPhone 11 Pro, which really surprised me. Now, obviously these photos aren't going to be as sharp as higher resolution sensors on some Android phones, but I think overall, if you're just viewing them on your phone, they still look pretty good. Now, one kind of cool thing from that A13 Bionic processor is the fact that it's using its neural cores to allow for portrait mode. And we've seen this before with single camera phones like the Pixel 1 through 3, but it's working a little bit differently here. The Pixel 1 through 3 used dual pixel autofocus, which gave it this stereo vision so it could determine what was in the foreground and what was in the background. On the contrary, the iPhone SE doesn't have dual pixel autofocus, so it's just taking a 2D image and interpolating depth out of that. Now, the default camera can only use this on people, but if you download a third-party camera app, you can actually use this on things like street signs or animals. Although it's definitely not gonna work as well because the neural network has been trained specifically on people. But overall, I am pretty surprised how well that portrait mode works, especially with just a flat 2D image, because you can take any 2D image with a person in it and interpolate depth out of that. And because this is all software, it also works on the front-facing camera. Overall, the selfie quality was also pretty good with good color and white balance, and it's really cool being able to do a selfie portrait mode photo with one camera on an iPhone. Now, the other camera benefit that A13 Bionic brings to the iPhone 8 is 4K 60 FPS video. And iPhones have always had some of the best video quality on any smartphone at all. And the video quality coming out of the iPhone SE is very, very good. Of course, that back camera has optical image stabilization as well as electronic image stabilization, so you get a really smooth image with very good color and dynamic range.
This is me testing the 4K 60 FPS video, and of course I can't see the 4K video on the screen right now because it has to use the back camera, but let me know how you think it looks. Honestly, I've tested it a little bit and it's pretty good.
Now there is one glaring issue with the iPhone SE camera, and that's that there's no night mode. Now, I really don't know why they wouldn't put night mode in this phone. I would assume that they had the capabilities to do it since it's mostly software, and that is pretty annoying because when you're in low light circumstances, the iPhone 11 Pro will automatically take these night mode photos that just show a lot more detail. Now, like I said, the A13 Bionic is also more power efficient than the chip in the iPhone 8. And it's not groundbreakingly different. I mean, I usually unplugged around 8:30 a.m. and the phone died around 1:30 a.m. So this definitely got through the whole day. It just wasn't nearly up to the 2-day battery life that we've seen in other high-end Android smartphones. But I mean, high-end Android smartphones have like 4,000 and 5,000 milliamp hour batteries, so that's kind of understandable. Now, this is fine for a general day when you're just sitting at home or in the office most of the day, but if you're planning on going out till late at night, you're definitely gonna have to top off in the middle of the day. Now, fortunately, there's also wireless charging in the iPhone SE, which I particularly appreciate because Michael and I have wireless chargers all over this apartment, and it's really nice to just be able to place it on a charger and walk away. Now, speaking of charging, that chip also allows this phone to charge with an 18-watt charger that you'll see in like an iPhone 11 Pro. Now, unfortunately, the iPhone SE comes with a 5-watt charger, which kind of sucks, and you have to buy an 18-watt charger separately. But it does work, and it will charge about 50% in half an hour if you purchase that separate charger. And of course, perhaps the most obvious but also important thing about this iPhone is that it runs iOS. If you're looking for an iPhone, you're looking for it because of the ecosystem. You're looking for the ability to use iMessage on your MacBook or on your iPad. You're looking for the ability to FaceTime and use an Apple Watch and AirPods. Now, don't get me wrong, iOS is not nearly as customizable as Android. If you're someone who really likes to change your launcher or change your icon pack or even have an app drawer, you're definitely going to have to go after Android. But if you like the Apple ecosystem in general, you have a MacBook or an iPad and you want that tight integration with Apple's products and services, then an iPhone's what you're gonna have to get. So I guess the big question is, what are you missing if you buy an iPhone SE? Well, like I said earlier, just from the other iPhones, you're not getting the triple camera system, you're not getting an OLED display, and you're not getting Face ID. Those are the main things from like the iPhone 11 Pro and the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Otherwise, from some of the higher end Android phones, you're not getting a super high resolution or super fast refresh rate display, you're not getting a gigantic battery, and you're not getting the tight integration with things like Google Assistant. But I think for most people, not the tech nerds like you and me, just getting access to the Apple ecosystem for $400 is more important than any of those things. If you can walk into a carrier store and walk out with an iPhone for cheaper than most Android phones in 2020, that's a big win for a lot of people. And look, I'm not here trying to tell you that iOS is better than Android. I definitely prefer Android for most things. But I think everybody should have access to whatever OS that they want to use. And the more access there is to the iOS ecosystem, the more that people can actually decide which one they prefer. Anyways, guys, that's about it for our iPhone SE 2020 review. Do you think that there are any mid-range Android phones that can really compete with this thing at the $400 price point? Let me know in the comment section down below, and make sure you read the article over on Android Authority. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.